Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth part of our job application checklist training. So far, we have covered four categories. The first one was pre-application process. So what you need to do before even go out there, before even start applying for jobs. Secondly, we talked about networking. Then we talked about applying. Then we talked about interviewing. And today we're going to talk about negotiation. Now, if you still haven't received the document, the job application checklist, let me know, comment below or message me and I will send the document over to you. What you will find in the document are 45 different activities that are separated in these 5 categories that you should do when applying for a job, when going out there, when presenting yourself, and when making sure to get the right job for yourself. All right. So let's deep dive into the fifth and the final category of the checklist, which is negotiation. Now, there are a couple of points that I want to go with you here today. If you have any questions, if there is anything in particular that you find challenging about this aspect, comment below or message me, and I will be happy to go through it with you on your individual case. Okay? All right. So the first part here is actually a bit contradictory to negotiation, are your non-negotiables. Now, what I mean by that, this is actually something that you should have prior to even getting to this point at your job application or job search, right? This is actually something that if you go back to the pre-application process, you're going to see that I'm talking about this particular topic also there. So these are the things that are a complete and absolute must-have for you in the new role. All right, so you want to think about what are the things that you aren't open to negotiate, even though we're talking about negotiation, but what are the things that you aren't willing to negotiate? What are the things that are absolute 100% must for you to even consider the job? Now, I would imagine that by now, if you have gone this far, that would mean that you probably already have an offer on the table. You would probably make sure that this role or this offer has those things, right? It's not a deal breaker for you now, right? So you really want to think about that. What I can share with you from my recruitment days, sometimes it would happen, we would go with a candidate through the whole process, they would get an offer, and then suddenly they would be like, oh no, because there is no XYZ. Even though we might have gone through that already in the process, even though we might have talked about that, suddenly a new thing appears. So you really want to make sure that this kind of things are clarified in your mind before you get to this part. All right. I know it's a common sense, but sometimes it's not. So I'm putting it out there. All right. The second part that's very much connected with this one is what are the aspects you are open to discuss, open to negotiate? So what are the things that you're open to compromise? So for example, if you think about remote work is very important to me, you want to think about, does it really need to be 100% remote, or are you open to considering a hybrid role, for example? Would that be a deal breaker for you? All right. Or for example, if you think about having a team is super important to you. Okay, that sounds great. But is it super important for you to have a team from the first day? Or are you open to discussing that later on, as you get inside of the role or you become more comfortable in the company, that you then get a team to take care of, right? So you want to think about, again, what are must-haves and what are the things that you're open to negotiate, open to discuss, open to compromise on, okay? All right. The next thing, special requests, anything that comes to your mind that might not have been discussed before, that you would want to have as a part of the contract, right? You want to make sure that's in there. You want to make sure that the contract is very, very clear, that there are no vague points. You want to make sure that everything is clear from day one, because normally what happens, sooner or later, there are things that are, oh, I thought it was this way, or we thought it was that way. You want to make sure that everything is clear and set from day one so that you avoid any potential misunderstanding later on. Also, if you are unsure about something, ask, right? What do you really mean by that? What does this mean? Can we change this clause? Can we put it in this or that way, right? Offer potential solutions. Ask for their recommendations. The next part is salary. Now, I hear a lot of drama when it comes to salary. Salary is literally you making a decision on the amount of money that you wish to gain for the value that you provide. Now, normally, how we would think about the salary, you would take the salary you're currently on and you would think to have at least that or an increase, a percentage of increase is 5%, 10% or more, right? That would be one way. The other way that I see, especially for people who are, for example, maybe in big corporations, and now they're moving into smaller businesses that might not have such a huge budget, that would be they would be open to different terms in terms of, let's say, fixed salary is that much, then you have bonus, then you have this, that. So you want to think about what are all different ways you would feel comfortable when it comes to your compensation, okay? But more than anything, salary is really you making a decision about the amount. That's it. All right? You want to think about what amount do I feel comfortable with and why. All right? If you're, for example, working with a recruiter, you want to talk to them. You want to see what they say. Do they have experience working with a client? What are their ranges? How to go about negotiating for your salary. Actually, normally when you work with a recruiter is going to negotiate salary. That's their job. That's why they're there. They're there to assist you, okay? You also want to make a research. See what are the salaries on the market for that specific role in that specific industry, okay? But what I really want to point out, when you do come to the point of talking about your salary, when you are in the interview, when they ask you what is your salary, just say the number. Don't go into justifying yourself. I hear that often. I want this amount because You don't have to say all that information. Why? What are you justifying yourself for? You have worked hard to get to the level where you are, and that amount of your effort and experience and background and the value you provide, that has a price, of course. Okay? But you want to think again about what amount am I comfortable with and why. You are explaining this to you. All right? Bonuses, as I mentioned before, think about all different packages, different compensations you would be comfortable with. Also be open to hearing what they have to say. What are their packages? What are their normal ways of compensating their employees? They might offer new ideas, something that you might not even have considered before, right? More open, more flexible you are. That doesn't mean, I just want to point this side note, being flexible and open to hearing what other people have to say doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with them, but be open to hearing. See what they have to say. They're going to expand your ideas. They're going to open your mind to different possibilities. It would be, it would be a pity to say no before even hear what they have to say, because you're maybe closing the doors without, you're kind of playing against yourself, so to say. The next thing we want to think about, start date, duration. Sometimes you get an unlimited contract. Sometimes you get a contract for a certain amount of time. Is it 6 months, 1 year, 3 months, whatever it is? You want to make sure that the start date is set in place. You want to take into consideration, if you are currently working, what is your notice period? Can you maybe negotiate that notice period? Do you want to leave a bit of time before you start the new role, or do you wish to just immediately jump in? So you want to think about all these kind of things immediately, not later when you agree upon, let's say, starting 1st of December, and then you're like, oh no, I cannot start on the 1st of December, right? So you want to really make sure that you have these logistics in place. Probation. How long are you on the probation period? Normally, is it 3 months? Is it 1 month? Is it 6 months? Depending on the role, depending on seniority, you're going to have a different probation period. Are you okay with that, right? And what are the holidays also? This is something that, we tend to kind of skip over. And then later on, it's like, oh, I didn't know I had only, 10 days, even though I'm exaggerating a bit. But you see the point. You want to make sure that it's all very, very clear. Also, can you take the holidays any time of the year? Are there specific times of the years? For example, a lot of my clients, they have certain blockages throughout the year that they cannot take holidays because of high season, right? So you want to make sure that you know about that, and also that you're okay with that as well. So there is no, again, surprise later on. And then later on also what I put here, which is again common sense, but you really want to make sure that this is very, very clear from the very beginning. And this is expectations, their expectations, your expectations. Do you understand each other? Are you on the same page? Are all these expectations very, very clear? Remember, we're not assuming what they want from you or what you want from them. We want to be sure what they want from you and what you want from them. So no assumptions. Really make sure that these are all very, very clear. Remember, you're setting the foundation for a solid and long-term relationship. Anything that is vague, anything that's unclear at the moment is sooner or later going to become a challenge. So you want to anticipate those. You want to make sure better to repeat 3 times now than face challenges later. All right. So we want to make sure to anticipate anything that might come to kind of prevent it. Of course, we cannot always predict everything, but we want to work to our best abilities to do as much as we can now to predict. This is what I mean, right? And also responsibilities. Sometimes these responsibilities are outlined in your contract. Sometimes they're not. But again, you want to make sure that you're clear on what your responsibilities are going to be and how flexible are you to going above and beyond those as well. Okay. So this is kind of in a nutshell what you will find in the job application checklist. I encourage you to let me know what parts of negotiation process do you struggle with? What do you find challenging and why do you find it challenging? Let's think about that. Let's work on that together. Feel free to comment below or send me a message. If you have any additional questions, ideas, you're always welcome to get in touch. And otherwise, I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.